Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. It's a very special day today and I wish all of viewers a very happy Holi. Let's see what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. Kremlin says Putin sent Trump a message on Ukraine ceasefire idea. Talks of cautious optimism. Ukraine begins forming team to develop ways to monitor possible ceasefire. Hamas to release American hostage in Gaza, says ready for second phase ceasefire talks. And India celebrates the Festival of Colors. Spring Festival symbolizes the victory of good over evil and marks the end of winter. The Kremlin on Friday said that Russian President Vladimir Putin had sent US President Donald Trump a message about his proposal for a ceasefire in Ukraine via Trump's special envoy and that there were grounds for cautious optimism. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said that Putin had late-night talks in Moscow with Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoy, to discuss the US proposal for a 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine. Kiev has already accepted the idea. Peskov said Putin had conveyed signals to Trump via Witkoff and had received information from the American about US thinking on Ukraine. Peskov said Russia and the US would work out the timing of a phone call between their two presidents once Witkoff had briefed Trump. Meanwhile, Ukraine's foreign minister has said that Ukraine has begun forming team to develop ways to monitor any possible ceasefire. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Russia supported a US proposal for a ceasefire in Ukraine in principle, but sought a number of clarifications and conditions that appear to rule out a quick end to the fighting. Putin's heavily qualified support for the US ceasefire proposal looked designed to signal goodwill to Washington and open the door to further talks with US President Donald Trump. Both Moscow and Washington now cast the conflict as a deadly proxy war that could have escalated into World War III.
First of all, I would like to start by saying thanks to US President Donald Trump for his attention to settlement in Ukraine. We agree with the proposal to cease hostilities, but we proceed from the fact that this cessation would be such that it would lead to a long-term peace and would eliminate the original causes of this crisis.
The Russian leader wondered how a ceasefire would impact the situation in Kursk, where Putin on Wednesday donned a camouflage uniform, extremely rare for former KGB officer to visit a command post. Putin said many crucial details needed to be sorted out and any agreement must address the root cause of the conflict.
But who will give order to cease hostilities? And what will be the price of such orders? Do you imagine almost 2,000 kilometers of front line? Who will figure out who and when in the field of 2,000 kilometers had broken a ceasefire? And then who will blame whom in violation of this agreement? These are many of the questions that need to be analyzed carefully by both sides. That is why the idea itself is right, and we absolutely support it. But there are questions we should discuss.
While Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman told Russian President Vladimir Putin in a phone call, the kingdom remains committed to facilitating dialogue and supporting a political resolution to the Ukraine crisis. While Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday that Russia's Vladimir Putin is preparing a rejection of a ceasefire proposal but is scared to say this directly to US President Donald Trump.
We have all now heard very predictable and highly manipulative words from Putin in response to the idea of a ceasefire at the front. He is in fact preparing a rejection at present. Putin is of course scared to tell President Trump directly that he wants to continue this war, that he wants to kill Ukrainians. That's why in Moscow they are imposing upon the idea of a ceasefire these conditions so that nothing happens at all or so that it cannot happen for as long as possible.
Foreign ministers of G7 nations sought to show a united front in Canada on Thursday after 7 weeks of rising tensions between US allies and President Donald Trump over his upending of foreign policy on Ukraine and imposition of tariffs. The group of 7 ministers from Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and the United States, along with the European Union, convened in the Quebec Hills. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefed his colleagues on talks on Tuesday with Ukraine in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where Kyiv said it was ready to support a 30-day ceasefire deal. But officials said news of ambiguous comments by Russian President Vladimir Putin had broken during this session, leaving delegates unclear where things stood. Member nations emphasized the need for robust and credible security guarantees so that a ceasefire would be respected and that Ukraine would be able to deter and defend itself against future aggression. US President Donald Trump reiterated desire to annex Greenland for international security. During a meeting in the Oval Office with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Trump expressed confidence that the United States would annex Greenland.
Greenland. What is your vision for the potential annexation of Greenland and getting them potentially to
Well, I think it'll happen, and I'm just thinking, I didn't give it much thought before, but I'm sitting with a man that could be very instrumental. You know, Mark, we need that for international security, not just security, international. We have a lot of our favorite players, cruising around the coast, and we have to be careful. And we'll be talking to you. It's a very appropriate, really a very appropriate question.
The G7 meeting came just as Trump's sweeping 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports came into effect Wednesday, prompting immediate retaliation from major US trading partners. The European Union and Canada swiftly unveiled billions of dollars in counter tariffs. Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly said on Wednesday she would be on the offensive at the G7 and coordinate a response with the Europeans to put pressure on the US. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said that China gained from the trade war Washington was waging on its allies, while France's Prime Minister Francois Bayrou says EU countries will not yield to Trump's threats of steep tariffs on wine and champagne imports.
Donc, eh ben, il faut que
We need all governments, not only France but also Italy, which produces a lot of wine and liquor, and Spain, which produces a lot of wine and liquor. And if European nations are on their own, they won't stand a chance. And that's why we need to build European solidarity in face of this. I have no doubt that we too can show our will and our resistance, but we can't yield to these kinds of threats.
China and Russia have backed Iran after the US demanded nuclear talks with the country. Beijing and Moscow said that dialogue should only resume once sanctions on Tehran are lifted. The meeting between the foreign ministers of 3 countries was held in Beijing days after Iran rejected US offer to resume talks. In 2018, Donald Trump pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear deal, whose signatories include UK, Russia, China and Germany. The treaty was originally signed in 2015 under the Barack Obama administration. Iran had agreed to scale down its nuclear program in return of lifting of international sanctions.
China and Russia welcome Iran's reaffirmation of the peaceful nature of its nuclear program, its commitment to not seeking nuclear weapons, and its pledge to fully comply with the NPT and its comprehensive safeguards agreement obligation. The 3 parties stress that all countries must refrain from actions that hinder the IAEA's professional, objective, and impartial fulfillment of its mandate.
Hamas has agreed to release an American-Israeli dual national believed to be the last living American hostage held in Gaza after receiving a proposal from mediators to continue negotiations on the second phase of a ceasefire deal. Hamas in a statement on Friday said that it responded positively to the proposal that was presented on Thursday to resume negotiations. It would also release the bodies of 4 other dual nationality hostages, it said, without giving further details. There was no immediate comment from Israel. Meetings between Hamas leaders and US hostage negotiator Adam Boiler in recent days sought the release of Eden Alexander, a 21-year-old man from New Jersey who served as a soldier with the Israeli military. President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff told reporters at the White House early in March that gaining the release of Alexander was a top priority. The United States, Qatar and Egypt have been trying to bridge differences between the Islamic militant group and Israel to restart negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire deal in order to release the remaining hostages held in Gaza and facilitate the entry of aid into the war-torn enclave. US President Donald Trump on Thursday threatened a 200% tariff on European alcohol imports to the United States if the EU moves forward with a planned tariff on American whiskey. Joining us live is our DW correspondent Triponda Shimbelu. Hi Triponda, what's the reaction?
Thanks for having me. Well, it looks like the EU won't be backing down anytime soon. The bloc's top diplomat Kaja Kallas has said that the EU will defend its interests, and the only country benefiting from this is China. Now, for Brussels, Trump's latest threat is an attempt to double down on a tariff war that he started. The EU wants to negotiate with Washington, and that is why the bloc's planned retaliatory tariffs are scheduled to go into effect on April 1st. But it appears that Washington is doubling down with Trump's latest threat, and the market reaction has been swift, of course, on both sides of the Atlantic. The S&P 500 has now tumbled into correction territory, and European stocks struggled yesterday and closed flat. The president of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, has warned that the uncertainties around trade policy and geopolitical situations are too high and making it challenging to maintain economic stability.
All right, and Triponda, how much of an impact would the alcohol tariffs have?
Well, in terms of EU-US trade, food and drink account for a very tiny amount of total goods trade. But any tariffs will have a major impact on the EU's alcohol industry because the United States is a major market. It accounts for about a fifth of the EU's wine and spirit exports, but beer isn't quite as high. Now, over the last decade, the amount of exports to the United States has grown, and that is why the stocks of European beverage companies tumbled after Trump made his threat yesterday. But those of their US peers rose. But despite that, tariffs on alcohol could harm the industry on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, this week, the CEO of the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States warned that a European whiskey tariff would be very, very devastating for the American alcohol industry. Now, the last time the EU placed tariffs on American whiskey, that was during the first Trump administration. The US whiskey exports to the European Union dropped by 20%. So there are fears, of course, on both sides of the Atlantic, and brands do face other risks too.
All right, Triponda, thank you so much. We leave it there. And Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis announced a cabinet reshuffle on Friday, appointing new finance and transport ministers and assigning key portfolios to younger officials. The move is aimed at regaining public support following mass protests over Greece's worst ever rail disaster in 2023, which claimed 57 lives. The reshuffle, second since 2023, comes after hundreds of thousands protested, demanding justice for the tragedy. Although the government survived a no-confidence vote, public anger has impacted its popularity in opinion polls. Portugal's president announces a snap legislative vote for May 18 after Prime Minister resigned over a conflict of interests dispute. Prime Minister presented the confidence motion last week after the opposition threatened to establish a parliamentary inquiry into his family's data protection consultancy, arguing that its contracts with private companies have benefited Montenegro as premier. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India hits back at Pakistan after Islamabad tries to pin blame on India over Baloch attack on Jaffa train. And we will show you how people around the world are celebrating the festival of colors, Holi.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. India, it's back at Pakistan after Islamabad tries to pin blame on India over Baloch attack on Jaffa train. In response to media queries on remarks made by the Pakistan side, the official spokesperson Randeep Jaiswal said, and I quote, "We strongly reject the baseless allegations made by Pakistan. The whole world knows where the epicenter of global terrorism lies. Pakistan should look inwards instead of pointing fingers and shifting the blame for its own internal problems and failures onto others." The Indian Film Festival kicked off in Tashkent, Uzbekistan on Friday. The 4-day event dedicated to women is organized with support from India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in collaboration with the cinematography agency of Uzbekistan known as Uzbekino. Attendees included Ambassador of India to Uzbekistan, Smita Pant, and director Shukratullah Rizaev. Bollywood stars Abhishek Bachchan and Sayami Kher along with directors R. Balki and Gauri Shinde were also present at the inauguration. One of India's most fun and lively festivals, Holi, the Festival of Colors, is being celebrated today. The celebrations start with Holika Dahan on the night before, where bonfires are lit to symbolize the destruction of negativity and the victory of good. This ritual is tied to an ancient story where Prahlad was saved from harm and evil was defeated. On the following day, the streets are filled with excitement as people throw colorful gulals at each other, dance, sing, and have a great time. Everyone, young and old, joins in the fun, covering each other in beautiful bright colors, indulging in the celebration of life, unity and happiness that brings people closer. Amidst the challenges in Bangladesh, the Assistant High Commission of India in Rajshahi hosted a secure and joyous Holi celebration, fostering unity and cultural harmony. The event featured a mesmerizing Krishna Radha dance performance and enthralling folklore singing, which added to the vibrant atmosphere. The local community participated enthusiastically, exchanging colors and joy in a secure environment. The Consulate General of India, Shanghai, extends heartfelt wishes to the Indian community and beyond for a vibrant and prosperous Holi celebration. Through their warm greetings shared via Twitter handle of Indian diplomacy, they emphasized the festival's message of unity and happiness. The gesture reflects cultural solidarity and the enduring bond between Indian diplomacy and global communities. The Terai region of Nepal celebrates Holi today, while the Holi region rejoiced on Thursday. Basantpur Darbar Square witnessed a massive turnout of locals and tourists reveling in the Festival of Colors, embracing the spirit of spring. Thousands gathered at ISKCON Budhanikanta in Kathmandu Valley for a floral-themed Holi celebration. The Eastern African archipelago of Zanzibar embraced the vibrant festival of Holi with enthusiasm. The Indian community celebrated with traditional fervor at Shiv Shakti Temple on Urumzai Street, located in the historic Stone Town, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Over 100 members of the PIO and NRI communities gathered to revel in the Festival of Colors, marking the occasion with joy and togetherness. City of Light, Paris also turned colorful as the Indian community and locals came together to celebrate Holi with music, dance and traditions. The festival brought joy and unity with delicious Indian food and lively Bollywood beats, from playing with colors to cultural performances. Here are the best moments from this vibrant celebration.
Holi is one of the festivals which is very close to Indian hearts, no matter where they are living. We can see Holi celebrations in every corner of the world. And Indians living in Paris are not exception to this. They celebrate biggest Holi in Europe right here in Paris. Let's have a look how they celebrate. A burst of colors, the beats of Bollywood music and spirit of joy. This is not India but the heart of Paris. Every year, thousands of people gather here to celebrate Holi. The festival of colors bringing a piece of Indian tradition to the streets of France with a great enthusiasm. This ancient Hindu festival symbolizing the arrival of spring and the victory of good over evil has become much anticipated event in the French capital, attracting not only Indians but also locals and tourists eager to experience the rich cultural traditions of India. One of the biggest Holi gatherings takes place at Jardin d'Acclimatation by LVMH Foundation along with Indian Embassy and Global Indians Organization. At least 30,000 people attends the festival. The celebration includes Bollywood dance and different Indian cultural performances. No Indian festival is complete without food. Food trucks and stalls offer traditional dishes, allowing visitors to taste authentic flavors from different Indian regions. What started as a small community gathering has now turned into a large-scale cultural event, which reflecting strong Indian presence in France. For the Indian diaspora, Holi is not just about the colors, but its way to stay connected with their roots, while sharing in spirit of joy and inclusivity with the world. The highlight of the festival is a grand parade, which is typically commences through the park. This procession features a splendid display of Indian culture, including a rath carrying a royal couple of legends, Raja and Rani. The parade offers an immersive experience reflecting the vibrancy and diversity of Indian traditions. With each passing year, Holi in Paris continues to grow, embracing more people from diverse backgrounds and reinforcing the message of love. As the city looks forward to the next celebration, one thing remains certain. Holi will always be a festival that brings colors, happiness and togetherness to the heart of France. Rohini Gosavi in Paris, reporting for DD India.
Holi, the vibrant Hindu festival of colors, is widely celebrated in South Africa, especially in cities with large Indian communities like Johannesburg. It is celebrated with great enthusiasm, attracting not only Hindus but also people from diverse backgrounds who enjoy the festivities. DD India's Nazneen Ismail gets us this report.
On behalf of the Consulate General of India in Johannesburg and India Club SA, we welcome you to the Basant Utsav of 2025. Holi, the festival of love, colors and joy.
The first, first order of the day is Happy Holi to all of you. It's a great honor to be here with all of you. This is my third Holi as Consul General of India here in Johannesburg. And let me tell you that all these 3 years, this is like celebration of all of us coming together, celebrating. It has been all very remarkable. And I must say that this is all because of the efforts of some people who really go out of the way and put together events that allow us to come together and celebrate. And I would like to especially mention India Club, the entire Manco Executive Committee led by Manish ji.
From traditional rituals to modern festivities, the spirit of Holi brings people together in a beautiful blend of tradition and fun. Here at Sri Radhesham Mandir, the air is filled with laughter, music, and of course, a splash of color.
I think so. It's a privilege for Sri Radhesham Mandir also that been inviting all the community, not particular religion, but everyone, and put it together here and celebrate the Holi. The Holi also is like inclusive, everything. All the people include, and then the color of, like as CG said, the Rainbow Nation, all the color and creeds put together.
Happy Holi to everybody. Today's Holi has become like a double festival. India reached the final. So now the Holi with color, with cricket, everything. So people are having extra fun and we are excited for this.
And as you can see, the festivities are high and the colors are rising and everybody is having such a fantastic time here at Sri Radhesham Mandir. So, this is myself, Nazneen, for DD India, Johannesburg, and Happy Holi!
That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live and a very happy Holi.